this matter of tariffs, and
Yeah,
we understand the government was going to have a meeting, and one of the ministries that will be involved is the Ministry of Trade. I understand you were in that meeting. How did it go?
yeah. Thank you very much. Let me say good morning to your listeners, and to say that yes, yesterday the Foreign Affairs Ministry through the Minister Honorable Tomokuze Twabrakwa, my minister has traveled to UK officially to represent the president on some programs currently going on in UK. And so I had to attend the meeting on her behalf. So we met with the US ambassador and her team. As you know, on 2nd April, the US government introduced series of tariffs on several countries, including Ghana. We were slapped with 10% tariff. Cote d'Ivoire had 21%, Nigeria had 14%, Madagascar had 47%, Mauritius had 40%, and so on and so forth. And so we invited the ambassador to come and explain to us why the 10% tariff imposition on Ghana, because I'm sure you are aware that we have AGWA in place. That's the African Growth and Opportunity Act, which allows some African countries to export into the U.S. market with zero tariff, as tariff-free. This AGWA Act is in existence, it's in operation. And so for U.S. to suddenly slap 10% and sometimes even more on some African countries who fall under AGWA was difficult for us to understand. And so we invited the U.S. ambassador. She came and she tried to provide some form of explanation to that. That we are seeking to rectify the past inconsistencies among countries. And so the president thinks that he is doing that to encourage manufacturers to move into U.S., to also ensure that goods and commodities that are produced in U.S. become competitive enough. And so these are some of the reasons why they introduced these tariffs. And she said that it wasn't a deliberate policy against Ghana per se, but this is a holistic attempt for them to right the wrongs with regards to U.S. trading with its partners. And so, but at the end of the day, we also found out from her why tariffs on cocoa, because we didn't understand it. You don't produce cocoa in U.S. So why do we introduce 10% tariffs on exports of cocoa into U.S.? And she agreed with us that she thinks we can pursue that so that some of the commodities that have been slapped on tariffs will be excluded. So at the end of the day, we decided to use the trade diplomacy to engage the U.S. authorities to see whether something can be done about the 10% tariff that has been imposed on us. So yesterday we had a meeting in Wentworth. It was held under a conducive environment, and so we finally ended the meeting, and we have to go and brief His Excellency the President about what has taken place. And the President also gave us a blessing that we should continue to engage diplomatically to ensure, to make sure to see that whether we can do something about it. As you know, the AGWA, which has been in place for over 25 years, is supposed to come to an end officially September 2025. And so we have started discussions, negotiations with U.S. government to extend it, but with with this new development, we believe that they want to end AGWA. By yesterday, they told us, the U.S. Team told us that they have the mandate to start reviewing, assessing countries, which countries can be considered if they want to extend AGWA. And so we had a fruitful meeting, and we're going to continue to engage. We believe that we should take the trade diplomacy, because at the moment we have trade surplus with the U.S. If you look at the quantity of goods we export to U.S. market, as against what they bring onto Ghana's market, in 2024 alone, we made a surplus of $244 million US. So it is in our interest that we don't antagonize the U.S. authorities, but continue to engage them. This is what we are going to do to appeal to them to see whether they can do something about the 10%.
Okay, and I'll come to that analysis of who benefits more when it comes to trade between the two countries. But you're talking about continuing the engagement. Is that to say that you will now move beyond the ambassador and engage other key, maybe go to the U.S. State Department? Where do you intend to escalate the conversations to?
Yes, so at the meeting, even the U.S. ambassador also suggested that we realized that most of the questions that we were asking her, she didn't have a readily response to them. And so she even suggested that we can take it further above her. And we agreed. So, Honorable Foreign Affairs Minister, together with my minister, are looking at a possible way of engaging the higher authority beyond the meeting the ambassador. And we believe strongly that if we engage, we'll get a positive result. I'm sure you remember, but on Saturday, White House issued a statement that the president is open for negotiation, because they said 44 countries have reached out to U.S. authorities to negotiate, and there is that window. And so we want to take that opportunity to make sure that the trade relationship between U.S. and Ghana is not jeopardized.
And you said when you do the analysis from last year, you're saying that we recorded a trade surplus of $244 million. So it means we are the biggest beneficiary of trade with the U.S.
Exactly.
We benefit more.
We benefit more because if I want to give you the statistics, 2021 there was a surplus of 821 million, and 2022 was 1.8 billion dollars. In 2023 was 887 million, and in 2024 a surplus of 244 million. And basically, U.S. what we import into Ghana is basically the cars and parts, and then crude oil. But we, apart from exporting our traditional commodities, we export a lot of non-traditional commodities onto the U.S. market. Cocoa, shea butter, yam, soybean, and so on and so forth. And so we believe that it will not be good for our market if we want to engage in trade war or retaliating the tariffs. So we believe strongly that we have to pursue talk with them so that something can be done. And we believe strongly that if we engage very well, something will be done about the tariffs.
Is that to suggest that you are not big on the idea of those who are also saying that maybe you should consider also imposing tariffs on the goods that come in here? That is not on the table.
It can be on the table, but at this stage, I will not say that that is the tangent we want to take. We don't want to go there for now. Let's explore the diplomacy first, but we believe that if we engage, we will overcome the tariff. If at a point we realize that they are adamant to our request, then we can consider other options. But for now, government has taken a decision to engage in diplomacy.
In the meantime, beyond the numbers of the surplus, have you looked at the fine details of the impact it will have on how many businesses that will be involved, how many jobs that will be lost, how much revenue will be lost to government if this tariff actually does affect business significantly?
Yes. If we don't do anything about the tariff, certainly it will have an impact on Ghana's economy, because every producer of a production has to sell it on a particular market. And so if we allow this to stay, it means that we are likely to lose some form of U.S. market for regards to exports onto the U.S. market, because then our produce will not be competitive enough. Particularly if you have a country that subsidizes their manufacturing companies, and so they produce at a cheaper cost, and you are producing the same commodity at a higher cost. When you get to that market, certainly the cost of your produce will be higher, and the consumers will run away from your produce. When that happens, if you are not careful, you will be out of business. And if you are out of business, it means there will be layout of workers. So it has implications going forward. That is why we believe that we should not antagonize the U.S. for now. We should engage trade diplomacy, because certainly, and when production is not going on, the government will not get the necessary revenue. Then they can create wealth in the country. People will be laid off. When people are working, they pay taxes to the government. Then government will also generate revenue so that we can grow the economy. And so it's a very important source of foreign exchange to this economy, particularly if we want to address the CD against the dollar. I mean, actually. So it's a very important matter for us. And we believe that we should have a way of addressing this matter so that we can't create any imbalances in the 2025 budget as has been passed.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for speaking to us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Honorable Sampson Ahi is Deputy Minister, Trade, Agribusiness and Industry. He was in that meeting, the meeting between I think I understand they were representative from Finance. The Minister for Foreign Affairs led the meeting, and then he was from the Ministry of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, where the impact really will be felt mostly if this tariffs do take root. In fact, it is clear who Donald Trump is looking for. But in doing that, he decided to go after everybody. But he said, yeah, like I read to you, Trump says they are open to negotiations. In fact, when he was responding to China, he concludes that negotiations with other countries which have also requested meetings will begin taking place immediately. Thank you for your attention on this matter. But there are many questions that many countries need to be asking themselves. How do we respond? And how do we respond from a position of strength, not of weakness? SM.
Yo, are they here? Are they here?
The one is an interesting one. Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Every time he comes his own. He comes with his own agenda. He doesn't joke with that agenda. He'll push it. Even no matter what the real, what do they call it? No matter the real impact to be, he convinces himself of the impact that he wants to make, and then he will not listen to anybody.
Hey.
Yeah. Yesterday the interesting thing that happened. The stock market, the US was going down. Then there was a rumor that the government has decided to suspend the application of the tariffs or the implementation of the tariffs. The market then started to go up. then the news agency said no, that was actually a rumor. There's not the news. In fact, government sources actually released a statement saying that no, they are going ahead. Then the market it's quite interesting.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, some small business.
Okay.
We have to move on to the matter of the Chief Justice. They said yesterday was the last day for her to respond.
days.
Yes. We understand she subsequently responded.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So one ten kind.
Chief Justice.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Only in your fine crown.
By the time she became this thing.